policy advisor. So I work with politicians. And the question is, will politicians be the cause for a solution? No. Will technology be? No. Will business be? No. Will our behavior be? No. But, and this is the nice dependency, of course, it is not one leverage that you can just press and then you have the change factors, but you need to have them all together. And of course, as there are particular interests from each of these groups, you have a lot of trade-offs, and these trade-offs you have to deal. But this is only now that my presentation started. What I want to introduce to you is, okay, me, the narrative. The narrative which I also felt in this room and in discussion with Stefan is that digitalization actually is the pathway to the sustainability. And it's a very interesting claim. And I was wondering if this comes just from marketing, as I have witnessed working with the European Commission directly, that a lot of big corporations in the tech sphere actually target the Commission because they want to have their products being favored by regulation, and other products, also from smart entrepreneurs, rather have a difficult time to get into the market. So I was quite aware of the marketing effects of, let's say, big tech corporations, but it's not only that. How many of you actually are aware of the Sustainable Development Goals? Can you raise your hands? Super. So I don't have to explain them. We have a commitment since 2015, let's say, facilitated and also executed by the United Nations. And actually, it is more than climate change. We must tackle. And we must tackle this also from a business perspective. It is not only a question of a societal challenge, it is actually an economic challenge too. And there is a lot of research, and I'll just point out some of them. One has been done by the so-called IASA, the Institute of Applied Systems Analysis here in Austria, where they tried to find out, because if I can go back, these 17 goals, they are not separated from each other. They are actually interdependent again. If you press one of these buttons, if I may call them buttons, then there are cause and effects in other areas of sustainable development. Of course, if we push the button of technology very strong, we will have not only problems with climate action, by the way, we will also have maybe problems with gender equality or the quality of education, because there is evidence that more technology does not lead to more equality in education. But nevertheless, there is, through these studies, and one can say they have been conducted very thoroughly, a common understanding of the leverages and the leverages together from the 17 goals, how to address them. And it is the digital revolution, and smart cities actually includes the digital revolution, consumption and production includes the digital revolution, and even decarbonization of energy includes the digital revolution as the mantra past the sustainable development goals. Although, and this is the although, it does not come without risk and unintended consequences. And I also want to challenge the doomsday scenarios. We actually achieved a lot since we decided together, with all the trade-offs, with all the interests that are sometimes not working together but against each other. When we look from 2015 to today, even there are, of course, and it's legitimate critique that we will not reach all the goals as intended in 2013, because this is the target. You may also be aware of the Green Deal. Who of you know what the Green Deal is, the European Green Deal? No, not so many as the SDGs. Very interesting. The Green Deal actually frames our current economic paradigm in Europe. The Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen called it the Europe's man on the moon. So we will really change that behavior of the market, of the business. And it was not, if you look really, really close to the Green Deal, it was not strengthened by the intention to actually save climate change. It was strengthened by the intention that Europe, as Stefan already has pointed out, is in the middle between the United States and China as an economy, as a marketplace. And the question nowadays is, who will be the sustainability and innovation leader, actually, on a global scale? Also, it was very important that we become more resilient and also more independent in our resource accessibility. Because this is the problem of Europe. We do not have direct access to the main resources. Also, to build the wonderful technology you all favor and you all decided to be as your life, center of life. Also with the Green Deal, there was extensive research and there are several sectors that are now being emphasized also through monetary investments, but also through structural support. And even though it is a direct point of intermodal mobility, with environment, consumer goods, and healthy food, which are the four main sectors that can have the most impact on the resource efficiency of Europe. It is information and processing and energy again in the middle that enables actually the transformation of these four sectors. And then our programs like the EU Recovery Plan, which is a monetary finance instrument after the pandemic, where the European member states needed to provide plans, so really action plans, not just talk about we should change something, we should do something. And these action plans had to, so there was a must, it was obligatory, had to prove that these actions would actually contribute a minimum of 37% on climate action and climate mitigation, as it's called, and 20% to the digital transition. And that is very interesting because at that point, in the midst of the pandemic and after the pandemic, the European Union decided that there will be something called the Green Challenge. And the Green Challenge is digitalization and sustainability. So it's not only marketing, it is actually a full structure and a market program. Of course, the designers, not the coders, but the designers go ahead. We have design policies for Europe, but we also, the question of EU is in the midst. When working with businesses, and we did here a study also with small and medium enterprises, not with the large corporations, we saw that the business strategies which were former separated, so there was someone being responsible for the digital transition of the company, and someone was responsible for the transition of the company to sustainability, and they were not talking to each other, usually. Totally different departments, totally different objectives. They grow together now, and it becomes a strategic alignment with almost now a majority, even in the small and medium enterprises, to take up the challenge of digitalization and sustainability and sustainable transformation at once. So yes, I don't know if we have human behaviors changed, but we do have a lot of business change currently in place to meet the sustainable goals. Of course, companies are easy to be convinced because from a business perspective you have double efficiency gain. You can lower your costs when putting technology in general into place, and you can gain more profits through new business models. And the value creation actually lies in the optimization of our processes, as Stefan showed also with some examples. But there are huge trade-offs, and this is what I actually want to point out to you. This is my mission today. I pointed out with businesses as well. Because businesses have the obligation that they need to report their behavior, and the large corporations with the new directive, if you are a public company, you need to have a new balance sheet, and this is not a question of I would like to have this or I am a sustainable company, but each company needs to provide the new data next to the financial data, which is the classic balance sheet, and it's called non-financial reporting. And part of it will be at least minimum the CO2 reports, at least. But there are, of course, more indicators. So, we need to acknowledge that sustainable development is not a question of I can start wherever I want. Actually, we have something that is called the biosphere, and the biosphere, the planetary boundaries of this called, they limit us all. Unless some entrepreneur starts into space and finds other worlds to be geo-engineered or to be harvested, minerals called impact. But until we are living here, this is the basis, and it's the basis actually of societies to thrive or not to thrive. It is the base of economies to thrive or not to thrive. You need the stability from bottom up. And unfortunately, we have a feedback process that goes top down, and technology plays here a key role because it stands out of the economies. There is let's say, starting studies, and I would be interested if any of you would like to deep these studies and discuss how we can do this. Because all we know now in data is the impact of artificial intelligence, for instance, on the SDGs, has been surveyed by a so-called expert consensus study. Very difficult methodology in that sense, because you actually ask experts, or you ask you as experts, what do you think? Right? It's not evidence-based in the sense of I have real data which they already. Nevertheless, let's say the experts in the field of artificial intelligence, let's say, believe that the positive impact of AI actually overturns the negative impacts of AI, which has been identified as well. And interestingly, it is society actually that is currently by the experts more worried about, so the negative impact of artificial intelligence on social fabric, like inclusion, like also participation in society, rather than the environmental costs of these technologies. Actually, I think, well, this is my opinion and some of my colleagues, it is, if we look again on that we actually need to take care of the biosphere, a question of the materials needed to scale up the technology solutions. And nowadays it is really, we can say that the digital technologies are an opportunity, but they're not a universal solution, because we know by data that from 1995 to 2015, the material footprint of all digital devices quadrupled. extraction of the raw materials like the precious metals and rare earths cause severe environmental damage that lasts longer, like the CO2 emission in the air, than we all live, and also social damage because the mining conditions at the sources where the materials are being sourced for building digital technologies are quite illegal in the sense of our laws in Europe or in the Northern Hemisphere. And if we look at the newer data like the United Nations University's Global E-Waste Monitor, we have 50 million metric tons of electronic products discarded every year, equaling the weight of nearly 4,500 Eiffel Towers. Whoever was in close to the Eiffel Tower has an image now, hopefully, in their heads. And much of this is incinerated or placed in landfills, causing pollution and human health hazards, and also the loss of finite resources. And that is because we have worked so far in a business environment that was called the linear economy. I take, I make, and I throw away. In between, I use it. I thought about this. And still, e-waste is the world's fastest growing waste stream. The fastest growing waste stream. So if we discuss, and I do love technology, I'm a complete nerd, but if we do discuss that we want to save the world with digitalization, we are contributing to the fastest growing waste stream in the world. Each one of us. And the estimation, I think these numbers are not to be processed like 52.2 million metric tons by 2021. It's already met. Yeah, 2023. So we have another problem if we have the man on the moon. This is why I call it Houston. We have a problem. We have greenhouse gas emissions. In global estimations, we have let's call it 4% of all greenhouse gas emission goes back to directly. This is being measured in the sense as we can today to the digital technologies. We have a rebound effect. And the rebound effect is the technologies get better and the efficiency is increased of any business process. More data is being processed by this technology. And more data being processed means more energy is necessary to actually process this data. And this is really a problem. The others are more like, these examples I give here are more like to exemplify. Like the Google AlphaGo Zero, the AI that plays the game of Go against itself, generated 96 tons of carbon dioxide over 40 days, only in its research training. And this is comparable to 1,000 hours of air travel. So if anybody asks you not to air travel anymore, I would say, oh, come on. Not the problem here, right? I have some 100 hours if I do not use certain technologies. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, I'm saying we should design them with those facts in mind. We cannot design anymore. It may be code, may be software, may be hardware, infrastructure, digital infrastructure, ignoring that we are contributing largely to the problems we want to solve. So we need to change our design principles. And this is something we already did in smaller scale. I would love to have a more scale up. We have at least the possibilities of the so-called circular economy and the energy transition that must go hand in hand with our ability to create new technologies. And we must design our technologies with these two aspects not only in mind, but actually in place. Okay. I don't know how many of you are aware of the circular economy and what it should do. Okay, right. The energy transition, you know. Circular economy, sometimes if you're not a business person or a politician, may not be in the public awareness. Interestingly, but this is not what I want to emphasize today, there is a new trend called corporate digital responsibility. It will hit us all hard because companies might get responsible for the results their digital technologies provide. Meaning, if something goes wrong in a production facility nowadays, like real production, like goods, the company is responsible. It has a liability for any harm the production facility caused on the social or on the environmental ground. Not so nowadays in the digital sphere, but there is, let's say, strong discussion that this will come because of artificial intelligence. Because if the artificial intelligence actually, the discussion is not about artificial intelligence itself will actually provide, but it provides information that leads to a decision. Right? And thus, you have the liability from the company. So corporate digital responsibility is the next thing, the other we know. But I want to emphasize, because I think this is the right path for it, is the question of can we incorporate circular economy principles within our design of code, software, hardware, and digital infrastructure. Because the objective of circular economy is to maintain the products, components, and the materials with maximum utility and value at all times. And you can put in data as well as maintain data, the components of the data, and materials code, the components of the code, as well as hardware. As many of you know, the circular economy, it is just to extend the life span and the utilization of any good. And there are 10 strategies to do so. And I think in discussions also with software developers that these strategies can even apply to the design of code. So we know already the digital infrastructures themselves must become CO2 neutral. From a study we conducted, we know that the large cloud service providers like Microsoft and Amazon Web Services actually are in competition about who is more CO2 neutral, because the companies who are renting out these services or buying these services, they already give you the big two budgets. One is give you the best price, second is give you the lowest CO2 emission, and I buy with you. No kidding. So this is why this is from Amazon Web Services. They have already a dashboard that shows the customer, the end customer, the CO2 emissions while using. It's not real-time data yet. It is still data-based and what's called medium value. But they are working on the real-time data dashboards right now, because this will be the next competitive advantage on the market. So, see, minimizing or eliminating CO2 emissions becomes a competitive advantage. And this is where I like to challenge, yes, we can change business behavior. And through business behavior, maybe our behavior. And then, sorry for this one, this slide is in German, but there is something I have learned and I would like to discuss. Is it possible that I know there is a linear process that is called data lifecycle management. And I know that this process, as any linear production process in the facilities in industry, leads to waste. Like data is being wasted. Code is being wasted. Well, not being usable anymore by the one who decided to use it before. And there are some ideas, and this one comes from a founder of DSC, that we could make the data lifecycle management even circular. So when a data or a code is not being used by the first user anymore, is there anyone within this organization or outside of the organization, the second, third, and fourth user? Can something that has been produced with a quite amount of energy and material be reused and be recycled, even though it is a digital good? If we take this into our design consideration, I think we are providing solutions. If we save the world, I cannot tell you, but I'm optimistic. Thank you very much.